to That Moto Show with Dirt Bike TV's Jay Clark and producer Donnie Bales.
Number 11. Can you believe that? 1-1. Donnie, who first pops to your mind when you hear 11?
Well, Emig.
What?
Emig.
Emig, 11, at the very end.
Yeah.
I think of Larry Ward.
Yeah.
Who else? Who do you think of?
Kyle Chisholm.
Kyle Chisholm. There you go. That's more recent.
I think Jimmy Weinert was number 11 for a while.
Yeah, I can't even think of anyone else. But our guest today is double number ones. He's that cool.
Yeah.
He's number one is our guest, our mechanic guest today. So it's a surprise. He's a good friend of all of ours, so that's going to be really cool. So Spencer's still here. That's the first shocking thing you're going to notice on your camera. Spencer's still here. We are able to we're shooting this show a little bit before he's leaving next week, so it works out really good.
This is like an encore because we said goodbye to him, and now he came back out on stage.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and he could very well be in town, like probably not the next one, but whenever we're doing something.
These are like the bands that they just keep doing farewell tours. That's Spencer.
Yep. They don't go away.
Yeah. He's got a nice new haircut. I like that.
Yeah. And overall season's over too. Did you notice that?
Oh yeah, I see that.
It's warmed up.
It's too hot. I got to figure out an alternative to the overalls.
One trip to the tropics and overalls are over.
Right. So no more overalls. And so Spencer's still here. What have you thought of Supercross as of late?
Yeah, I mean, I'm super happy with what happened last week. So
and unfortunately, this show's going to come out after. We won't know the next one, unfortunately. But season's been awesome. It's so fun to watch. I just love it every week. I love watching it. So we'll be watching it, and hopefully it continues to be
just the fact that it's so close is like the most important thing, right?
Right.
Nobody wants to, unless you were in the McGrath era, nobody wants to see a runaway.
Right. Mm-hmm. It was still kind of fun watching when McGrath won, huh?
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know
his
why.
runaways were the best because you're like, can anybody catch him?
And when he'd fall and he'd still be able to pass everybody.
Yeah.
It was awesome. All right. So I got a few things to go over with you. Let's get started. Hold on. I got to stay next to the mic when I talk, right?
Yeah.
So a few things I've learned this last week or two is I help people. We have a video on buying used bikes, right? And so I get a lot of guys, they hit me up, they send me links, which is totally cool. You can send me links, I'll give you my opinions on the bikes, right? So we have a video on that, giving you things to look for and all that, and that's in our doc, right, Spence?
Yep.
Okay, in our Google Doc, if you we give a video and it tells you what things to look for and all that kind of stuff. Well, we've been real advocates of the 300 carbureted bikes, 17 to 19 carbureted bikes, 300 XCs. Like,
is there a better one of 17 to 19?
No.
All the same?
No.
Okay.
300 XC or XCW. Either one's fine. The XCW doesn't have a linkage.
And the gearing's a little bit
whacked.
But it's not bad.
Not bad. It's still rideable. I'd prefer an XC. The XCW does have a better stator for those guys who want to run a light, but still, it's fine. Either one. Problem is, and this guy wrote me and he says it's kind of my fault because he's been looking.
Your fault.
My fault that the prices are too high. Besides Joe's fault, because I've been preaching this, so now the prices on those bikes I'm saying, they should be like, honestly, $4,500 to $5,500. There's 2017. These things are really old. 2017 to 2019.
They have like 100 hours usually, too.
So we're finding, most of the ones he's finding are 150 to 250 hours. And some of them have piston changes.
I wouldn't even buy it. I'm selling a bike way before that.
Way before that.
Well, and they're like $6,000
so
minimum.
So here's been my new theory as of late is if you cannot find one of those with lower hours, or I don't have a problem you buying one with 200 hours. Ratto did. They do fine. Okay, they can go a long time. But it needs to be for like $5,000, and it needs to not be all roached out. So if you can't find one of those and you're still looking, consider a 350 XCF, because for a 2017 to 2022 350 XCF, great bike. It has a good 6-speed transmission. I really love the bike. Guys are scared that it's going to stall out, flame out, all that. It's a plenty good bike for most guys.
Okay, quickly. What are the advantages and disadvantages of the 300 versus the 350?
Okay, so the thing is with the 350 XCF, guys could say it could stall out a little bit more, can feel a little heavier in the trails. But the advantage of it is you kind of motor up sections that you don't even realize. Where on the 300 you might come to a dead stop. That's always been our thing. 300 you come to a dead stop and you can feather it and come up. That 350 you don't even stop, you just keep going. So it can help you in that aspect. So the 350 can feel a little bit heavier, I guess, at the end of the day, but I don't know if that's even really a thing. I go back and forth, and I'm still leaning towards 350 most of the time, but I think the main reason is I ride 4 strokes at the track. So that's probably the main reason.
Would you say there's one that's a better advantage for a more beginning rider?
I think the 350, if you're riding more open stuff, if you're in tighter stuff, then the 300. But if you're having a hard time finding a good deal, which I think most guys are, and you're in that $5,000 to $6,000 window. I actually just sold a couple good ones to some buddies, and for good deals, you can find a much better 50-hour 4-stroke, let's say, for $6,000, $6,500. Way better bike. So
don't you think a lot of that buying the 300 2-stroke against the 350 is kind of like their indoctrination? It's like a 2-stroke guy is going to, no matter what, stick with a 2-stroke.
Yeah, and the problem is he sees the top hard enduro guys are all riding 2-strokes, and I get it. So 2-strokes to me are for very beginner guys.
Yeah.
Or for top pros doing hard enduro. Everybody else in between, you're probably better off with a 4-stroke.
Yeah.
Lasts longer, the whole thing.
Well, when I can ride like Cody Webb, I'll think about what I'm going to ride.
A 2-stroke again, right?
Yeah.
Right. I got a couple other things to share real quick. We have our video hit over 300,000 on our ultimate tips and tricks views. So that's pretty cool. And that has 125 tips and tricks. And I'm going to say I've learned probably 40 of them from the guests we're going to bring on later.
Okay.
So that's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
So that video's done really well. I'm going to read a few of these comments that I got just this week. I get comments
on the tips and tricks.
Yeah, it says best video ever. Thanks, man. That's from the Foxy T2. So that's pretty cool. I'm guessing he rides a 2-stroke.
Yeah.
T2. Okay. Andreas.
Or he's a Terminator fan.
Or he's a Vince. Andreas Lixvist. I'm guessing he's not from Marietta.
No.
Okay. Wow. What an awesome video. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay. But this is the best one. David Kumaraha. He's from New Zealand. I figured this out. Cheers, bro. Nothing but the ducks. I have to say this right. Nothing but the ducks nuts here. Kiora, stay upright. So they say Kiora kind of like mahalo.
Oh, okay.
Because I Googled it. Kiora is like this saying, like it means like everything.
Right.
Like mahalo, right? Like, or what's the other one?
Aloha?
Aloha. That's what it's more like aloha.
Yeah.
Sorry. Because it's like hello and goodbye. So it's Kiora. Kiora. Have you ever heard the term
Never.
ducks nuts?
No.
Have you ever heard it? He's heard it. Okay.
Well, he's a foreigner.
He's a foreigner. That's part of the deal.
That's part of the problem.
Okay. So I thought that was pretty funny. I've never heard of that term. So our guest, when we bring him in, maybe we can ask him how he learned that term.
Or how often he uses it.
Right.
Okay.
It must be just the New Zealand thing. Maybe some Aussies too. Who knows? So,
yeah.
So anyway, some real cool stuff there. So make sure to check out our video if you haven't. Seeing as how there's 300,000 you probably have. But share it with your friends, especially share it with your less knowledgeable friends. Oh, let's talk about that bike right behind you.
Let's take a look at it.
Peel out of the way there. That's our 95, 96 CR250. We
shouldn't sit in front of this bike. We should just be on the side and just let it.
Here it is right here in Dirt Bike Magazine. Check this out.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's it in Dirt Bike Magazine. So there's 4 more of those suckers at home that are almost done. And we have a video coming out soon with recapping us working on a bunch of those.
Did you have one of these when they came out?
Nope.
I did.
I was not cool enough. And I looked up to the guys that had them because it was a way better bike, but I was always on a Suzuki or on a Yamaha.
I was fortunate enough to get one through the magazine I worked for, and it was really good.
Right. And I kind of wished I had one, and I helped a lot of guys. I worked on them a few times, and they were all better, but I never got a good deal on one, so I never got one. So now I made up for it by having 5 of them.
Yeah.
Do you know why I only made 5? Did 5?
Because you didn't want to make 6?
6 was too many.
6 was too many.
Right, just flat out too many. So we have a cool video. Spencer's finishing editing the video.
How many more can you make?
We've had people offer us. We could at least do 2 more because guys have offered us parts for free, even like enough frame. But it was such a big job building those bikes. I mean, it was just. And when I'm watching the video, Spencer did this recap video, and we're pretty far along. And it shows the frame welding, the case welding, the cranks getting done. It shows everything that we had to do. I mean, on those bikes, we welded, every frame got welded, okay? The foot peg pinholes all got welded, and then I filed out with a round file to make the foot peg pins nice and tight.
Doesn't one of them
Isn't that a good idea? So there's no woggle. Those old bikes, the foot pegs would woggle?
Yeah.
We don't want any of that.
Doesn't one of them... Or is there another build that has a part of a Yamaha frame on it?
One of these does.
Yeah.
So we actually, the frame was crushed in, so we had Dallas cut it out, and I sacrificed. This will make a lot of guys happy. I sacrificed a YZ450 frame.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So a 4-stroke died to fix a 2-stroke frame.
Right.
So I think most people. 2-stroke guys are much happier that we cut up a 4-stroke frame.
It was like a 2004 or something, right?
It was like one of the last years of a YZ450 or whatever.
I bet you're going to find somebody unhappy about it.
No. And I got the frame from my buddy last because he's like, ain't no one buying it because no one's gonna fix up a steel frame 4-stroke. Period. That's a whole nother topic we could go into, which we will someday talk about, fixing up old 4-strokes and why in most cases it's not really that much.
I actually wouldn't mind. You're going to tell me I'm crazy. And
426 or 400?
A 400.
Just for nostalgia.
That's it.
But you would need someone to help you pick it up to put it on the bike stand.
That's why I have you.
All right. So anyway, it's a cool bike, and it was awesome to be in Dirt Bike Magazine. And actually, another one of the bikes, we're going to shoot it with Dirt Bike here soon. So, and then the other ones are going.
The cool thing you guys did was they're all different.
Yeah, all different.
This is what's really cool.
So we have two white frame ones, but they look totally. The next white frame one, that one's kind of a mix of 92 to 95, all these different years, right?
Yeah.
The look. The next one is a full McGrath themed looking bike.
Yeah.
Then the other
there's
white
parts
frame.
of it that can't be too McGrath, but
right, but it's a themed.
Yeah.
I don't call it a replica.
Yeah,
because it's themed, because we have different companies on board. We got the 1-800 FMF race up there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and then so we try to change some of the logos around. So we got some great companies on these builds. So
what you need to do, but people will cheat. If they wouldn't cheat, it would be like, what was the original logo?
Yeah.
Instead of Weisco.
Fill in all the logos.
Fill in all the logos.
All right. Well, anyway, hopefully you guys are digging those builds. We'll have videos coming out soon. We're going to bring in our guest right now.
Let's do it.
Okay, so this is it. This is my buddy David O'Connor from Ireland.
All the way from Ireland.
From Ireland. So I was thinking, for the guys on the podcast that are listening to this, they're not going to be able to have subtitles on.
Oh, stop it. A lot of my friends actually send me messages from Ireland like, hey, your buddy Jay has a cool podcast. I'm like, yeah, check them out. They're good tech tips and the whole lot. So they don't need subtitles. They understand.
All right, good.
You should go and actually speak Irish.
So David's been, I've known him for about 15 or 17 years.
I think it was 2008 I met you first.
Okay.
I was working at the Richardson's RV Suzuki team. And they're like, hey, go over to Sun City. The guy over here has pistons for you. So I go over, show up to Jay's house. I'm like, wow, look at all the bikes. This guy's a cool guy.
He didn't put you to work right away?
No, not right away because I was busy. Adam Chatfield had the whip cracking on me for Supercross. So I was kind of busy building his engines. Michael Paglia was on the team too. So kind of got to meet Jay and got in contact with him. Like, hey, we got to go riding soon. And just realized, hey, he's the same as me. Loves dirt bikes. Yeah.
So, but I do love dirt bikes, but I think David loves them more. Like in a lot of ways, because that's what brought him over. And that's what we're going to talk about is if with us having a mechanic on the show, we wanted to talk about the mechanics we've had on. We've talked about what got them into being a mechanic, what brought them, why they want to do it, right? Well, David got the bug really bad. And so let's talk a little bit about when you were younger, what got you into riding dirt bikes first, and in Ireland, obviously. And then you worked as an adult over there for a while. It wasn't like you came over here at 18 years old.
No, not at all. No.
So let's talk a little bit about that. And so let's start at the beginning. Like, what got you into dirt bikes?
So growing up as a kid, like being 12, 13, 14, there was a neighborhood down the street that all the brothers, there was like 4 or 5 brothers. Irish have big families. So they all had Vespas, which I kind of thought was cool. I just was like a motorcycle guy. And all of a sudden they brought their youngest brother a KX80. So there was fields all around us in Ireland. So I went down, checked them out, cycled down my BMX. I'm like, hey, could I have a ride on this? Had no idea, never rode one before. So they showed me how to use the clutch, the whole lot. So 13 years old, come home like, hey, I want a dirt bike. My family knew nothing about it. My dad would have having like a Vespa as well back in the day, so knew how to mix 2-stroke and everything. So I kept bugging. So finally 15, my mom worked with a guy who knew all about dirt bikes, so she kind of like, hey, what should we get him? Because a lot of people just making their own bikes, were just not really what we wanted. So we're like, hey, what kind of a bike could we get if we wanted to get into racing? So he was a great guy. He actually lived here for 10 years in California.
Okay.
So my mom worked with him, asked them all, picked his brains, the whole lot about like how to get into dirt biking. So he helped us look through, like, it was actually papers at the time. We didn't really have internets to look through and see what was for sale. So we found a KX 125. This was in 95, so it was an 87. So it was like an older bike, pretty well used.
I had that bike when it was like a year old.
Yeah. So the one with the
that was a new model year. 86 and 87 were different.
I had disc brakes, which was fancy because front brakes were previous. Yeah. So I got this bike. We didn't know anything about it at all. So we kind of like picked knowledge from everybody who rode in our town.
Yeah.
So got the bug straight away. Loved it. when we started off first, people would give me some gear, like buy some used boots, the whole lot, just to get into the sport. Turned out like when I ended up buying boots from one of the guys in my town, he was the champion like 4 or 5 times in Ireland. So he was the great guy. He's like, hey, come on out, we'll bring you to. He had a private track. So got some tips from him and kind of learned the ropes real quick. Mel Costello was his name.
So like an Irish motocross champion?
Yeah, in my town, and he had a private track that a couple of us could do.
Dude, what a hookup!
So like total novice beginner, and then like he had whoops, doubles, the whole lot, and I'm just and then we just rode like we'd go summer, like we'd go like 3 nights a week, go out after work.
And this is all. What's the name of your little town?
Waterford. So Waterford's southeast in Ireland. So there was a lot of people did really good in Waterford because we had tracks there to ride.
Okay.
Most of the other places, they had some tracks and clubs,
but they had to drive.
They had to drive. We pretty much could ride like every evening. Like we had some places we could go. So kind of got the bug, started getting good at racing. Really enjoyed it a lot. So
hey, hold on, that KX 125. You had to go through some pistons and
yes, yeah. So wait until I tell you my piston story. No, we'll do a clutch story first.
Okay.
So he runs a motorcycle shop. Another guy who did really good in the Irish Championship, Hilton Hinks. He so we got a new clutch kit for the bike. Put it in. I was like, learned how to do it, put it in. I couldn't pull the lever. I'm like, what is wrong with this thing? Like, I did something wrong. And this was the one that had the actuating arm on the big clutch cover.
So you got to drain the coolant.
Yeah, so such a nightmare to do. And I was like, I did something wrong. So then, he came by my house and he's like, oh, okay, it looks like you have all way too stiff springs. So we used some of the old ones and new ones. So kind of just learning tricks like that from people as I went. And one time we were doing a piston, dropped the circlip down in there. That's a good tip for everybody. Always put a rag in there. When you do it the first time, you'll never do it again.
Were you able to get it out? Magnet?
After magnet the whole lot, we decided to catch the bike, turn it upside down, stuff. My dad shaking, the circlip fell out, and after that, I will never do that again. I've been helping train a lot of people over the years, the jobs I've had in the industry, and I tell them that story. I was like, don't make the same mistake as me. Always put a paper towel in there so it don't drop down.
Yep.
So yeah, that bike was definitely got me the bug. I think the next one then I upgraded to a 91 KX 125.
Okay.
Had a lot of I was always a small bike rider, 125.
You were a smaller guy too.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, the portions are a little bigger here.
America.
Yeah. So 125s is what I raced all the time. Kind of dabbled into the 250Fs when they came, but never big bikes. So raced like the Irish Championship that we had 8 rounds, 4 in the north, 4 in the south. So I would go there on a Saturday, do the Irish Championship, and then we'd have southern rounds on the Sunday, which I'd do. So I did a lot of, even though it's a little country, I did a lot of miles. And actually, I didn't. When I was younger, my mom and dad would bring me all over the country going racing.
Now, I think you remember you telling me a story, because I'd met your parents when they came over, is they would actually help out at the races too.
Yes.
Right?
So in Ireland, it's a lot different to having Star West, Comp Edge, they're all the tracks that are closed. They were businesses. So in Europe, it's clubs that run it, and that's the only way we could get insurance. It's actually coming through the FIM. So what we'd have to do is form a club. So everybody that rode kind of got involved, and we'd help out. We had a treasurer, a president. I was the one that did tech inspection, because every bike had to be scrutineered before you went through and raced. And oh my God, I would see some bad bikes. and my job was to tell them, hey, your spokes are hanging off. Your lever end's broken. If you crash, it's going to stick in somebody. So I was the bad guy. Did that at my club. And then as soon as I would get done going through everybody's bikes, checking them out, wheel bearings weren't loose, because they had to be safe, otherwise the club would get
Did anybody ever get mad at you?
Kind of, but and I had gone I was part of the Irish Motocross Committee meetings, so every month we'd go and discuss racing and all that, so I had to be involved in it to help with the club. So it was kind of crazy, some of the bikes, I'm like, you can't race this, it's not safe.
Now,
so
at those meetings, were they drinking as well?
No,
okay.
All right, this was important business.
All right.
Yeah, this was important national champion stuff.
Just making sure. There's a lot of stories,
that's after the races.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so my mom actually, she would help with sign up at the races. My dad would be the one, like when you come down to the holding area, or you qualified second, you could take this gate pick, so we all did it. I would help like in the morning so I could race myself afterwards. Yeah.
So they were all in helping you. They weren't too bummed about you getting into dirt bikes and getting hurt or any of that.
Not so much. Okay. No, I've got hurt a lot of times throughout the years.
We're gonna go over that too. Like this is gonna be like a pro guy talking about all of his different injuries.
Yeah, and I'm Joe Smo, local, having fun, but unfortunately,
the fact that your parents jumped in that deep, not having that's pretty amazing, though.
So my mom's a lot like me. She will chat with anybody. She knew the whole pit. She was friends with everybody, and she'd be pumped to go. Like would go, and she'd get to hang out with everybody, all day long. So she really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Well, and we'll get into that. And that's one of the reasons everybody around SoCal here knows David at the track and MXA guys and everybody. So we get there. So now you're riding these 250Fs. You've moved up. How old are you getting to be here?
So when I moved to 250Fs, it was like when the Hondas came out. So I had like the first Hondas in 04. Yeah. So I kind of did like 04, had a 04 Honda, 05 Honda, 06. And then I bought a Suzuki. Don't know why. I gave it a try. It didn't get used much. So I bought the Suzuki. And then my plan was I was going to come to California. I had some friends who would come and stayed at vacation companies.
Yep.
So Race to Cal, I came and stayed with them. I wanted to do some training in the winter when it was so muddy in Ireland.
Yep.
So the plan was I actually got here the Friday before Anaheim won.
Okay.
And then I had planned on staying 2 weeks, just kind of getting a lot of riding in before a season started. And then as soon as I start riding all the tracks, it was like, oh, I think I gotta make my way here. So it turns out one of the workers he had, an English guy, he got in a little trouble and ended up the slammer for the night. So all of a sudden, like, hey, you can work on dirt bikes, right? I'm like, I sure can. So I was on a tourist visa, so I ended up staying 3 months the first time.
Now, what happened? Because you had a regular job at home.
Yes, yeah.
Now, what were you doing in Ireland? Now you're like in your mid-20s, right?
So it would have been 26. Yeah.
So what were you doing in Ireland to support this habit?
So I did like an apprenticeship at a car dealership just to kind of learn how to work on engines a lot.
Yep.
So I did that, and then what was I doing? I think I was actually delivering windows and doors in a truck. I was just doing whatever I could because I was so busy, like going racing on weekends. I'd pretty much leave on a Friday, so it had to be kind of a part-time gig. So I was doing that, and I called him like, "Hey, I'm not coming back." Yeah.
I'm in America.
And then to tell my parents too, I was like, hey, I'm going to stay here 3 months. So I came back, and I was like, rode a lot here. We'd go to the track like 4 days a week, bring customers. So I would go fill up all their bikes, get them ready.
And you're washing them all.
Washing them all. So, but the only fun part was like, soon as they got riding, boom, I'm out riding too. So I'm doing motos with them. I'd stop. Hey, you good? You need anything? Adjuster chain, lubric chain. I'd go back to another moto. So I rode a lot.
Just living the dream.
Yeah, living the dream. So then I went back to Ireland. I was probably the most I was ever ready, and got back. And it was all muddy, and I did so bad.
Because California, no mud.
Yeah, I was just
to be honest,
the tracks were really, really rough. Whereas here, they're groomed every day. It was just straightaways. I got to rough tracks, and I was, oh God, I can't do this. So I did a couple of rounds of the season, and then I was like, all right, I'm kind of not having fun with this, and try to make my way back here. So during summer, not a lot of people come to California to the vacation companies. Yeah. So as soon as like September start hitting again, that's when he got busy. He's like, you want to come back, do some months again, work? So I came back and just fell in love with California. Yeah.
And so you got back, and then you got back working for him again? And then, you just start wanting to? You just stayed and started picking up any, This is the less glamorous side. David has a good position now and has had a bunch the last, 8 or 10 years.
Yeah.
But before that, it's not glamorous.
Oh no, not at all. No.
Not too.
If you look at my fingers, I know Jay has all like nails that are beat up and everything. I don't do that anymore, but I would be a lot of like trying to take swing arm pivots out that I'm banging out because they're seized in. So there was a lot of junk I worked on. And that was just to make a living here, and it actually makes you a good mechanic too when you're working on stuff that's not like perfect. You learn tricks and tips how to work on them better.
Right.
So did a lot of that stuff, and then One of the guys who was staying at the vacation company, Mickey Carter, he actually sent one up afterwards. He was friends with Adam Chatfield, so Adam just got hired with the Richardson Suzuki team, and he told him, he's like, hey, I got a guy who's going to be a great mechanic for you. So did work with that team as well. Yeah,
and you're really tight with English guys.
Yeah. We get on great.
Isn't that unusual?
Hey, so
over there.
So your funny story asking about the Kiwis earlier. I work with two. So my department. So what I do now for a job is I work at KTM at the engine department, and my assignment is the Rockstars Husqvarna team. So I'm the 250 engine guy. In my department, I have two South Africans. My manager is from Wales. Wales is Great Britain, if anybody doesn't know. So we have two Kiwis, so South Africans, an Irish guy, Wales, and then two South Africans.
I never realized how.
Yeah, we're the foreign department.
That's crazy. But yeah,
but we got a new guy there, Sam, and he's probably like picking up all our crazy slang and stuff we have to talk about.
The duck's nuts.
Yeah, the duck's nuts.
All right.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, that's where he's working now. So let's go through some of those guys you worked for, because you worked for probably 5 or 7 years just with privateers.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
So
the first year, like when I got on the pro scene, I was working with Adam Chatfield, where we're doing West Coast. So it was Michael LaPaglia, and then Adam. They were kind of a support West Coast Suzuki team.
Yep.
So we worked on 250s for West Coast, and then it was 450s for outdoors. So I got everything ready. I was building engines, doing everything for the team, to getting that stuff ready for race bikes, practice, testing. So then we're all ready. We're about 4 or 5 days to go before Anaheim 1. New Year's Eve, decided to go ride Elsinore. Was all right. We're kind of all ready. We're set. Ended up breaking my tib fib, the GFI track, double section. Now jump the first double into the face of the next one. So boom, over head over heels. Broke my tib fib. That's actually where I got to meet Dr. Alexander. Real nice guy. He works on me a lot. So Dr. Alexander pulled my leg straight, put a cast on. My insurance wouldn't cover me to do surgery here. They were like, you got to go back home. So parents organized a flight. They were waiting at the airport for me, and then we were booked in for surgery. So I flew home with a broken tib fib.
How long is that flight?
10 hours. We got direct. Luckily, we got like a seat that was like by the emergency aisle, not the emergency aisle, but the restrooms. Was able to keep my leg out with a cast on. So that was a horrible journey. So made it back to Ireland, went straight in for surgery, but I was so sad. I was like, wow, I was about to be a supercross mechanic. So that kind of ruined the dream for a little bit. Kind of took me a long time to get walking. April maybe kind of got good again, and all of a sudden I get a call. Hey, this mechanic I got, he's not working out. Is there any way he can come back? I'm like, in. So I think it was like the opener was Glen Helen. So to get back and then work 450. So we show up. We got the semi, the whole lot. Yeah. And then the team manager, he quit. He quit after Glen Helen, so I'm not sure what happened there. So we go to Hangtown. David Pingree was our. I was like, wow, I watched him win Bercy, Supercross, and everything. I was like, he's my team manager. This is cool. So we go do that, and then all of a sudden, back to home base. It was in Sun City, actually across from Jay. So that's where the dealership was. So the semi come back, and we chat with the owner, and he's like, hey, bad news, guys. This was 2008.
Yeah.
Economy, motorhomes weren't selling. He's like, we're going to pull the plug. We can't keep doing this. So luckily, Adam really wanted to race. He's like, okay, you can keep the race bikes, practice, all the parts you have, and we're going to give you a motorhome. So we took off on the road, drove to Colorado. I'm like, I had a Garmin. There was no iPhones or whatever back in the day. I bought a Garmin to get around. So off there, I got to see the whole country. We drove around to all the nationals, and Adam was doing really good at the time. He was in around 10th place. So it was really cool. Got to meet a lot of teams. I'm in the Holden area with all the Suzuki guys, asking them, because it was the first year of the fuel injection.
Yep.
And you're one of the top privateers in that at this time.
Yeah. He was battling with factory teams, so they were helping us out a lot because it was a new model, and there was quite a few issues with the fuel injection the first year.
I remember that.
So I got to know the Suzuki team real well, and they would help out. I remember even like the Kickstarter boss where your kick would crack. So I was doing like, engine cases like on a table in a Walmart parking lot. It was just like
and Roger and Ian were over there.
Yeah. So who really helped me was Thule.
Yeah.
He's at AMA right now, and Dave Feeney. So they were there,
and then Dave came to Husky and won championship with Zach Osborne.
Yeah.
So it's this really small world.
When you think about it, the industry is really, really small, and people who leave teams and burn bridges, everybody knows each other. It's so small. Like when you think about it, like we go to the big show in Anaheim, there's semis, everything looks cool, but at the end of the day, there's only 10 semis, and there's maybe 10 staff in each semi, and they all know each other. So always don't burn bridges in this industry. It's very, very small. Yeah,
I can vouch that David can go back to anybody he has worked for and go right back, and that happened at KTM.
Yes,
we'll get to that. So that's a really cool story to live your life that way. So that's a good tip.
So after that, when the team kind of folded, Adam went to a small little privateer team on Hondas. I think it was a Phoenix team. I can't remember who it was. There was no real spot for me. So then I was like, okay, I really want to stay here. So what I did is I heard Star Racing was in Lake Elsinore. Yeah. So I showed up. I think it was right when the season was over. Brad was there. He's
still
actually
there.
Yeah. Brad pretty much runs the show over there now. Bobby wouldn't have been there, so Brad had the little shop over in Elsinore. I showed up. I'm like, hey, I'm going to work here for 2 weeks, and you don't like me, I'll go away. You want me, I'll stay. So that's how I got the job at Star.
There you go.
So they gave me, I was the rookie mechanic there. They gave me Michael Hall on the West Coast and then Darren Durham on the East Coast. So I had 2 guys, and then back then it wasn't as, you didn't go to the track as much, with the practice guys. Their dads were taking care of them and stuff. So it was a lot of work, Then I ran into some visa issues like halfway through the season, so I was like, okay, I gotta quit traveling. So it was kind of like stay put, stay in Murrieta. So
visa issues means you can't risk being in Pennsylvania getting pulled over.
Yes, So funny story. I was checking in some suspension, and they're like, where are you going? I was like, I'm going riding dirt bikes. They're like, you're wearing all these team gears? I'm like, I'm a fanboy. I love Yamaha. So it was one of them tricky situations. Gave me a fright. I got pulled into secondary and the whole lot. So it was time to kind of stay in Murrieta and get my visa sorted perfectly.
All right. And that took a while.
It took a long time. So then I looked.
Doesn't anymore. It's just
I'm American now. I'm Irish American.
Yeah, he's got his citizenship. But I'm saying nowadays it's not half as hard if you just walk across.
I just saw a video of people coming in on a boat in Carlsbad.
I saw that video. They crashed the boat onto the beach.
I told my wife we should go get a trailer and pick up that boat. It's a nice boat.
I haven't seen it. The boat works.
Yeah, a real nice
20
boat.
dudes got out of like an 18-foot boat.
And they just all walked into the city. It's like,
they didn't even run.
They were walking. They just got off. Cool.
So mine, I came on Aer Lingus flight. That's the national airline for not a boat.
So you're doing this private, and then who's the next guys you worked with?
So then I got together. Adam looped me over with Don Lieb from Rocket Exhaust, and then Michael was getting real good amateur stuff. So I helped Michael and did a lot of the amateur nationals. We traveled all over the place, did them. So we had a good time with that. But then Michael got picked up by Bud Racing and went over to Europe. So he did that. So I was kind of left without a job. So then I started doing like a lot of work from home. That's when I was working on some junk and like just whatever I had to do to pay the bills.
Your favorite stuff.
My favorite stuff. Till I found something permanent again. So then what was really cool is Michael came back to the USGP at Glen Helen, which for me, I had gone to a lot of GPs to line up and be a mechanic at a GPs was really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So then after that,
and you're learning a lot, right? Like now you fully know. Now you're rebuilding full engines, building race engines, practice bikes.
That's the one good thing. You just soak knowledge up from everybody. Like wherever you work, there's people who've been doing it a long time. Just listen what they got to say, and you'll learn some good tips. Like every day, I'm with Roger DeCoster, seeing a machine and stuff. Like, hey, what are you making this for? Just get the knowledge from these people. Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah. That's cool. So then, after that, with Michael,
after that, then all my visa stuff. came good, so I was able to apply and get jobs. So what you did is you looped me up with Jason Smeagol for the off-road team
That was
at
a long
Cowie.
time. What year was that?
Like
13,
2011, 12-ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And before that, you were working for me for a little while.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of
couple
project
few days
bikes
a week.
And we'd go ride in the mornings and work on the project bikes in the afternoon. We had a good time, but I had to. The wife was telling me, "Hey, you got to knuckle down and get a real job."
Because that's the problem. Guys work for me, and that they want to work for me, and it's like, well, I can only we only work about 2.5 days. Like I can only pay you because the rest of the time
we rode a lot though. That was the most important thing.
Nothing has changed.
Yeah, exactly. I get jealous watching Jay's Instagram all week when I'm working.
So we got to keep working. Spencer's in the same boat. He goes, I like riding it, but I need a job. Like we got to work. We can't just ride all the time. It's like, well, I want to ride.
Unless you're pro, right? Yeah. Better start going faster if you want to ride
I know,
every
right?
day. Yeah. We all want to do that, but it's hard to go faster.
So you got on with Team Green, which was a good job.
Real good job.
But
in
Irvine.
Irvine, it was a bit of a pain. Yeah, I drove there like 4 days a week, and then would meet up at airports to go to races and stuff. But it was a fun job. Liked working over there too. It was the first kind of big professional organization. Learned a lot about like how it's run.
Yep.
So they did a year. I worked a year there. We were doing the Works West Coast stuff on 450s, and then we were doing enduro cross on 250.
Yeah, yep.
So a lot of work, a lot of weekends away. It was a good time, and then that program disappeared. They cut the off-road team, so it was kind of like devastating. Like, wow, I had a good gig going.
They had a top team going out here.
Yeah.
How long did you have that?
It was a year. I did one full season with them.
It came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I heard it was because they were throwing this money at Villapoto.
He got his 3-year deal, and
I heard that was part of
That's exactly what I heard too.
I remember that was like the biggest deal ever
around.
at the time.
Yeah. So that was the exact same time.
Like we can
I think
pay
that
Villapoto, but not David.
Not
No
David or anybody
riders.
else.
David gets paid too much. We got to pay Villapoto.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody was gone.
Yeah, so the whole team disappeared. Luckily, so Reed Nordine was the head of racing at the time. Jason was the off-road team manager. He got switched over to different departments. Some people got moved around. So Reed called Mitch Payton, and he's like, hey, I've got a good guy. I'm sending him down to you. So I did the interview with him, and then at the same time, you told me about the media job coming up at KTM.
Yep.
So I did an interview at KTM. And it was like, all right, okay, hopefully some of these people get back to me. So the same day I get the 2 calls back. I get the 2 calls back, and then I'm calling like Dave Feeney because he's worked at Pro Surrogate asking you advice.
Yeah.
So what I decided to do was do the KTM one because it was 10 minutes from my house. And for me to turn down Mitch was crazy because, I'd watched every championship. I'm a 125 fan. He's won every one there is for years. To be like, Mitch, I'm sorry, I'm not going to take it. It was like, I couldn't believe I was telling them no. So I took the job at KTM. My main role was kind of prepping all the bikes for magazine tests. I remember I had my pretty cool Cowie 250 at the time.
Yeah.
I remember telling you, I was like, oh, I'm going to have to ride a KTM.
We were both like,
that was the downside, riding a KTM. So I had an 01, I guess I had an 01 KTM back in Ireland. Yeah. I bought it and I really didn't like the bike, and I had a hex against KTM. I just didn't like it. So then when I got a bike from KTM to ride, I'm like, oh wow, these have come a long way. It was like 10 years since I rode one, so that was like, okay, at least I'm on a good bike. I didn't know what to expect. It kind of was.
This was like 12-13 range.
Yes, yeah,
and
that's when they were starting to get good.
Yeah, they're starting to get better, and then Dungey comes over, short, like in 14-15, somewhere in there.
No, I think we came.
He came in 13.
It was a package deal.
He came in 13.
Yeah,
because they made that 12.5 for him.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was the time I went in there. Poor Tom Moen, who was my manager at the time, would have gone to shootouts and pretty much got last every single one. And when I started, I'll call it the glory days. The bikes were getting good. We're getting better results at shootouts. We'd go like with all the media outlets, and then they'd review all the bikes. So it was kind of like, okay, we're doing good at this. Yeah.
Especially through 16, 17, 18, all through there.
But I remember my first week working there, so it was all stock bikes, pulling them out of crates, putting handlebars on. I was like, man, that kind of feels like a dealership job. I'm kind of like bored. I'm used to racing. So the first week I was just struggling. I'm like, I don't know, did I make the right decision? And then all of a sudden, we're like, right, we got to break all these bikes in. So I'm like, oh, we get to ride? And then we're out meeting Kiefer, Tilly, Jody, like going cycle news, like meeting everybody. And then we'd be on the track. I'm like, okay, this is a cool gig. So I ended up doing the tech there for about 6 years. So prepping all the bikes, got to know everybody in the media. I'll call every one of my friends. It was a great time doing that. Then Tom, who was my manager, he got transferred over to different departments. So like, didn't even have to do an interview. Like, hey, you're taking over. So that kind of turned into a lot of responsibility. I was kind of like taking care of the shop, answering like all the emails and sending out like all the new information. So it's kind of like a little more office than I wanted. It wasn't really a more hands-on guy, so it wasn't really what I was looking for. So I kept trying to like move over to the engine department, which I'm in now, and it just never worked out. So I kind of just decided then, all right, maybe I'm going to set up my own shop. So
and so when you set that up around COVID,
which was a bad time to do it. Even when I was trying to rent a unit, people wouldn't like meet up with me. Like, oh, we can't meet up now. We don't. We have to have masks and all this stuff. So I'm like, great. So I left my job and I can't even go like get an appointment to rent somewhere. Luckily, it all worked out. It took a long time. It was a lot of hassle trying to get it. So then it was like, okay, right. So we got a unit. Let's build out like the shop, get everything going. I shared with one of my friends, Nackstar, who I've known a long time, Lassie. He's from Denmark. So we got on real good. We shared like the unit. He was starting off his wheel company. I was doing the moto side,
and he's still going.
Yeah, he's doing great. Yeah, I feel bad about leaving him, but I think I would have been kicked out. He's got so much inventory and stock going on there now.
And we call it Doc MX.
Doc MX.
So a couple. We have these other nicknames for you. So where's the Doc come from? David O'Connor, right? Your email.
I thought you were honestly going to ask me that.
What's his name? Cody's always called him
Lucky Charm.
Lucky Charm.
You
know, because he's Irish.
So did my own shop and got really, really busy from the help of Jay promoting me. We did bike builds. All the magazines who I'd worked with over the years really pumped me up, and like I opened the doors and had instant customers. It was like, wow, how am I going to keep up with this? And just kind of like, it wasn't really what I wanted to. Like, there was a lot of older bikes that weren't so fun, and the plan was like it was Doc MX Racing Service. I was hoping to get all the B intermediate kids.
Which you had a couple, but not enough.
Not enough.
Want to do the high end race prep, and
that's what I wanted to do, was like get them on a program. Like, hey, we'll do your top end every 50 hours. You know, we'll frame out your bike. Just kind of get like that customer who was regulars and do a better service, but. I shouldn't even say it because I hate saying this. I swore I'd never have a quad, a mini bike, and a street bike. But when you got the premises and the lights on, you have to bring them in. So I'm like, this is not me. So
the second or quad.
Rolls
in the door. David's like,
the quad, the mini bike, and the street bike pushed me over the edge, and I was like, okay, well, look, I gotta pay the bill. So look, somebody called. I'm not saying no. So I said yes to everybody, and there was stuff I just didn't like working on. And I worked on a lot of cool, like modern new bikes. You know, like people brought to me before it broke, not like, hey, there's glitter coming out of the oil, can we fix it? You know, like, I had that kind of customer. But then I had a lot of good ones who were doing preventative maintenance, and that was what it was after, but there just weren't enough of that work. So then it was coming up to renewal time of the lease. I'm like, you know what, I think this is not for me anymore. So shut it down, and then I actually got a call straight away, like when I shut it down, from Robert Pierce. He was the head of customer service at KTM. He's like, hey, we got a spot back for you doing, I can't remember what it was, dealer services or something like that. I'm like, nah, it's not really for me. And he's like, okay, well, I'll keep an eye out. The next day he's like, well, would you be interested in doing like customer service, going Loretta's, Mammoth, so all like the KTM support at the races? So like, yes, I'll be a contractor and do that. So that was a great gig doing that. And then at that time, they kind of opened the door. So Casey Lytle runs the R&D department at KTM.
Yes.
So Casey found out I was available. I was on the payroll. It was easy just to call me and put in for my day's work. So I did almost maybe a year with Casey. Yep. So I was working with Casey a lot. I was really hoping he'd have a full-time gig.
What were you doing, really?
So prepping all the test bikes.
Okay. So these are like bikes are 2 and
2 years ahead or more.
Yeah. So top secret stuff, which was crazy. I wasn't even an employee, but everybody trusts me. I'd been there so long. I was working with models that were new. They'd rent tracks, go out and ride 2 or 3 days. I would prep them, get them ready for like, you know, the next week's tests. Pull off suspension. The suspension guys will do valve, and I'll put them back on. So a lot of cool stuff. It was like a.
Are you doing pistons and things on those bikes too?
Depending on, so like sometimes they'll have durability tests, and they had to do like, you know, a certain amount of hours, and then I would take it apart, inspect it, he'd send like the information off to Austria. Yeah.
And so the Austria guys would come over too sometimes. We'd work with them.
Yeah. And there were a lot of people like who from the R&D department in Austria who I knew because of the magazine site. When I was working in the media department, they would always check in. Hey, how's all the tests going? Like what we can improve, and just a lot of like feedback between Austria and the US. Yeah.
All right. So then now that leads us up to where you're at now.
Yeah, so then I'm there and I get a call on the engine department, which I always have wanted to do. Like I like kind of like playing around with engines, and especially my dream part is it's 250. So I'm not a 450 guy. So it turned out it was the Rockstar Husky team for the 250s. So my main responsibility, what I do is take care of all the practice engines and race engines. So usually my week will entail come in Monday. There'll probably be a practice engine sent back from Florida. So vapor blasted, get it all clean before I even start it. Strip it down, inspect everything. We have times on everything, you know, like what needs to be replaced at certain times. So just inspect everything and then get it rebuilt, go dyno it, and then get it shipped back out to Florida. So that's a rotation we do.
And I've been into the new shop, and it's awesome.
It's like a hospital. It's so clean.
He's been able to walk me through all the process. It's so cool to see the whole process of the thing. It's pretty awesome.
Do you have an engine dyno, or do you guys put them on a bike?
Chassis. So we all have our own. It's 3 different dynos in there. So there's plenty. We're never like, you know, all at one time. They're sunken in the floor. You don't even have to ride up onto them.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we all have, like, I have my own 250 Husky chassis. Billy has his 450 one. We all have our own once. We're not ever, hey, can you hurry up? I'm waiting to dyno.
And then when you put the engine in the chassis,
yes,
because I noticed the chain's not even broken.
No, we have a rivet link.
Right. So the chain's ready to go.
Yeah.
So when you set the engine in and bolt it up and add coolant and everything, how long does it take you to have it ready to go?
Like 20-25 minutes. So it's so fast.
They have they're all ready to go. He just puts them in, and
you have all your tools in a little box with all your bolts and everything. And it's not like when you're doing like you know, it'd take me a lot longer if I was going to go ride the bike. I'm putting radiator shroud bolts in, the seat bolt I'm sitting on, it's not going to fall off. So there's a lot of just the fast stuff, like you don't have to put on. You'll just put in like chassis bolts, really.
That's awesome.
So how many, you know, obviously if you can't say, you can't say, but like how many engines are you doing a year?
It's hard to tell.
But a few, 2 or 3, it's a week. Like,
so usually every second race, I'll get back a race one. Yeah. So
and then the practice ones are rotating through, and
Does the
right now
race engine go to a practice bike ever? Eventually,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they have an awesome program when they're. And
it's so organized. So when I started the first day, Leighton Rice, he's been with KTM for maybe 20 years. He's won championships with Dungey, Webb. Like he's really experienced. So he's my manager.
We should have him in here too.
Yes, I actually told him that the other day.
Even though he's from Wales,
he might need subtitles. He's a little.
Isn't this the Irish guy saying the English guy needs subtitles?
Yeah. People at work come in our foreign department, they need like an interpreter. So he when you start, like he'll have like build sheets, you know, everything's like what torque spec, what grease I want on this, you know, like what lubrication, like it's so detailed that, like, you know, like how many hours something's last I want you to replace. He's been there, done it all, knows exactly what it is. So you're handed a build sheet. Like I could build engines all day long, but I had to learn his way of doing it and what way it had to be done. He'll give you, like, you know, the valve clearances, the crank end float, the cam timing, like, so it's pretty much like the Bible is handed over to you and you stick to that.
Do you have how many engines could you have on your bench at one time?
Actually, so it's Friday evening, just got finished up, and I still have an engine part in front of me. So right now I'm building 3 new race engines, and I have two on one side and one on my stand. So I have 6 engines on my bench right now.
How do you keep track of what is what? Like,
No, these are built ones, Donnie. So it's pretty much a U shape. I've got like my toolbox right in front of me, an engine stand, and then there's a long bench on each side, so I can do 2 at one time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Sometimes, like, if I'm in the middle of a practice, that'll get dropped because every Tuesday morning, 10 o'clock, UPS hates us. They have so many boxes of suspension engines, so we'll all go over, grab them, and that's when the cycle starts. So we have to have them. They show up at about 10 o'clock on Tuesday, and then the engines will always get shipped back out Thursday, next day, to be at the hotel.
next day.
We next day them, so like we dyno them Thursday, pretty much. Drop the oil, put them in the real nice cases we ship them in. So then it'll be arriving at the hotel on Friday morning. So as the team are getting up having their breakfast, they'll roll it in and bring it for the spare for the weekend.
For the spare, because there is a backup in case the.
We have 3 engines usually on the rig per rider. If there's a mud race disaster, then there's plenty of engines, but we always get the one back.
How cool would it be to see, like, you put a GoPro on an engine and the cycle of an engine? It's shipping.
Oh, it's crazy.
It's going here, there.
And with a lot of bikes,
We have to bribe the UPS guy with energy drinks all the time because he looks worn out by the time he unloads.
I bet. It's those big. You have those big plastic tub containers.
Yeah. A lot like what your camera stuff would go in. I think they're Pelican cases. Yeah.
So I get a lot of questions about, like, when do I change my piston? When do I do this? What he's talking about, these intervals, is even the cases on some of these bikes. A lot of some cases are better than others, but when the bearings come in and out a few times, when the threads get used so many times, they'll actually just time out the cases because they're too used up, so to speak. And if you keep using them, then the threads are gonna strip out. The bearings will fall out.
Plates.
So those are all things that they do because they come apart so often. It's a little bit more difficult.
Well, look how very seldom you have failures anymore. You just don't see failures hardly anymore.
Knock on wood.
And even when we do, it's usually because, like what we just saw, I think rocks in a radiator gets something
got a radiator.
something causes
a crash damage.
Exactly. Now, I will say that those Honda 250s, the last 2 years in a row at the was it Southwick?
Yep.
So they did have some issues there. Because they're running hot and they're squeezing a lot out of that engine.
Some of the outdoors are real hot.
Pretty tough on them.
The riders are very tough on them. Yeah. I probably got one of the toughest 250 riders there is, RJ Hampshire. He's definitely a revving guy. And I think my heart rate is as high as his RPM when I'm watching him ride.
You're like, I have to fix that this week.
When he doesn't get a good start, I text David during the race. I text him and go,
and Spencer gets in on it too. Yeah.
Oh, you got to get me in there. I want to get.
He's David.
All right, so it's So what's your big takeaway? So you've been doing this for 17 years or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So was it worth it coming over here?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, met my wife here, living here. It's a great place. I know a lot of people complain about California, but I love it here. Yeah.
Would you permanently move back to Ireland or ever?
It's a possibility sometime, but right now, my work's here. I enjoy my hobbies here.
Your wife's like her.
No, she'd possibly go to Ireland too.
It's surfer girls.
Yes, exactly.
There ain't much of that going on.
It'd be cold surfing in Ireland.
Cold. You guys go to the beach every weekend.
Yes.
One day.
Yeah.
Taking the dog, going to the beach.
Yeah.
So you guys definitely have embraced.
No, we enjoy California. It's definitely it's an outdoor lifestyle here. It's so nice. Yeah.
And it does. I mean, the traffic, the politics, and some of that, the cost, it does suck. But the fact that you can do so much is pretty awesome. So it's
300 days of sunshine.
No, for sure. Yeah, and you want to go snowboarding, you go to Big Bear. You want to go to Huntington, it's an hour away. It's there's everything to do here. Yeah.
All right. Well, where were you at, Spence?
You should do the product spotlight.
Product spotlight. Are we running a little long?
We're running long, so we'll do one question.
We're not doing a little long. We're way long.
Way long.
Sorry, Jay.
We're having too much fun.
No, it's okay.
We know each other way too long.
Listen, I mind when you run long, but I don't mind when David runs long. That's all I'm saying.
We have a guest. It's all right.
Yeah.
So our product spotlight today is this is a KX. What cylinder we got here? KX125. KX125 cylinder that's been replated by Millennium. And what we like
nice
about
job.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's
good quality stuff.
So I get a lot of guys writing me in these older bikes, and first of all, a lot of these bikes you can't buy a new cylinder anymore. And then a lot of guys are impatient and they want to be cheaper. and they get a sleeve. And it's getting to be where it's, first of all, it's very difficult to find anybody that can really put a sleeve in well, and sleeves just don't work as well as plating. This is Nicosil plating, and it does cost a lot. I mean, depending upon how much damage, it's $3 to $350, can be up to $400 to fix, but
it's OEM quality.
It's like a brand new cylinder
or anything.
Yeah. So if you're gonna, and they'll spec the piston to the clearance that you want, to the exact clearance. You have very little to no problems with these things. So, and they've learned a lot. So this is what I would do if you have a damaged cylinder, which if you're doing an older two-stroke, a 20-year-old two-stroke, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have to. Every single one of those CR250s that I did.
It's not damaged, it's worn out. You can't get a Z piston. I think then you go to C or D.
Right.
So you sure to run out.
So our product spotlight is getting your cylinders fixed, Millennium. That's probably what I would recommend. And it's best to strip it down fully. You save a little bit of money if you pull the power valve out. You can clean all that while you have it apart. Pull your studs out, and it's a good time. You can clean all those. Wire wheel them off, vapor blast them, whatever. You put your studs back in. Having a good cylinder is imperative to your old two-stroke build. So, and when it's getting sent off to do it, then you can do your bottom end at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'd recommend there. So, all right. So you see, we're not going to have our.
So speaking of old bikes, the one behind you.
Yeah.
Could we ship that to Fox Hill so I could race like the YZ250 we built a few years ago?
So we did help David build one, and
he built a real nice one.
He built a YZ, and it went over to Fox Hills for that big vet race.
Yeah, it was the first year of it.
Yeah.
It was an O2 steel frame YZ250. We totally pulled that apart. Remember I got the bike, how bad it was?
Yeah.
It was so nice when we got done.
Let's not forget how much he helped with the KX500.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. So KX500,
Yeah.
Jay calls me like, hey, we got Donnie's bike apart. Can you come help? I'm like, I've never ridden a KX500. I've never worked on one. And the linkage system is so different than everything. So
Crazy.
Weren't we on that?
We're on YouTube videos. Donnie had manuals looking at because I was like, I felt like I didn't know how to work on dirt
it was
bikes.
apart 6 months or more from when we.
And I didn't take it apart, which is always hard.
Spencer took it apart.
I took it apart.
Yeah.
We should have took more.
We didn't take pictures. We were just like,
lesson learned. If it's going to be a long build,
You know how Jay goes. He's like, let's get this done now. It's like 15 minutes later, Spencer had it done.
We figured it
We're
out.
riding tomorrow, so let's get it done today.
We figured it out, and it was a real nice build, Donnie.
Yeah, it turned out awesome.
All right.
So over the years, I've done lots of cool builds with Jay. I think, remember even we did like 85s for Spencer when he was a young lad?
And one super
all
minis.
grown up now, riding 450s.
Yeah.
So all right, let's get to our questions. Which I think we're gonna do. Which one are you gonna do?
We'll do. Do you want to do the Dunlop one or the SAG one?
Just do the Dunlop one. David's a huge Dunlop fan.
Okay.
Who isn't?
Right.
I know, right?
And this is a good question.
This is a multi-parter question.
Yeah, I see this. This is lengthy.
It's
a
a
long.
question. We'll just
Maybe I'll back up and let the expert
No,
answer.
I mean you'll have some insights into this as well. So, all right, this is from Matt A. He says, "Hey Jay and crew, can you please explain the relationship between Dunlop and the SMX series in the following areas? Why is Dunlop the only tire company in the pits? I remember a few years back it was kind of a big thing that Bridgestone pulled out of pro racing. Some riders still run other brands such as Pirelli, Maxxis, Michelin, etc., but they don't seem to support the sport or the riders as much or push development in the MX tires as much as Dunlop does. Am I wrong?"
No. So that's what happened. What simply is done is math, right? And so sales. And so Bridgestone looked at it and said, "Hey, we're spending this much money, whatever it is, which is a lot, and to support racing." And they said, "Hey, it's not worth it for the amount of." And also, I think to dig into Dunlop's market share, and they look at how much they're spending, going, "Hey, we could spend this much less, and we're only going to sell this much less tires. We're going to get out of this." And so
some of this has to do though with all of them have parent companies and they just go, wait a second.
Hey, you're spending $5 million on this, whatever it is. They're spending a lot of money, and back, they did have a lot of the guys back in the, through the late 90s, early 2000s. They had a lot of the top guys, and so Dunlop just stayed with it. And the big difference at Dunlop is there's some really key people. The key people at the top still get racing, and so they really see the value in it at all levels of racing.
That's always important for a company. You get somebody new in,
the core,
new marketing person who doesn't get the sport.
Why are we doing this?
Yes, and they don't get it. So you're right on the key people and they're passionate about it.
And they have great people from the office, the top out here in California with Mike Buckley, guys like that. And then we have Brock Glover and Brian Fleck, guys out there, and then a lot of other people all involved who there's all these other guys that, Chris Chris and Chad and Rob Fox does the amateur guys. All of them ride.
Yes,
Yeah.
And that's
pretty cool.
what KTM is a lot
Yes.
like. A lot of people are really passionate, and you'll see like you go out to Kahia or Glen Helen on a Saturday, Sunday. It's like a staff ride day, and it really helps because it just they're into the sport. Yeah,
I think I should get a job at KTM.
yeah. You
own enough.
You keep us in the job.
I'm a supporter. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So what's the next
The
part?
next
of the
part
question?
is he's asking about how does the relationship with the teams work? Do the factory teams have Dunlop on almost like a retainer, change as many tires as they need over the weekend, then charge them for tires and labors at the end of the month or season? He's not really sure how that relationship works.
So, and I don't know the exact details, and I don't want to speak too much, but they obviously do take care of these teams, okay? And they have a certain amount of product they're allowed, and the biggest selling point with Dunlop there is they do have that great service at the track.
Yes.
And actually, I help out at a couple a little bit. now and then.
Even before like the nationals or the Supercross start,
Yeah.
Dunlop shows up to KTM and helps Gas, Husqvarna. They'll have all their new wheels built, and Dunlop come and mount them all on so they're ready for the weekend. They'll have their spare wheels, their ones on the race bike.
I think
I've
Spencer
even-
had been there on, was it
Yeah,
New Year's
you've been
Day?
there a
Was it
lot.
New Year's Day we went?
It was
One
New
year?
Year's Day when we went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've even gone over there, forgot what I went over there for, and he's changing all the little bike tires for the KTM
remember.
Challenge
Oh, yeah.
races.
So it's terrible.
Oh,
Yeah.
David knows I've struggled
I
with
got
this.
you in on that. I'm sorry.
He walks in, he goes, "You want to help?" I'm like, "No, man, I gotta go."
Yeah, that's you lose your knuckles working on the little bikes changing tires.
So they take care of those. So it works out well. So there's good coverage on all those teams with the factory Honda and Cowie and the Suzuki and KTM, all the brands. It's pretty awesome that Dunlop is so big on all those bikes. It just keeps Dunlop at the focus, and it's what everybody wants. And then the next question is good to that kind of leads into that. How does he ask about the?
It says, "Why does Dunlop make a special tire for the top guys that the public cannot get?"
Okay, so these are called, race tires or spec tires, and one of the reasons them being involved so heavily in the racing is what keeps Dunlop advancing so far, right? And having the best motocross tires out is that they are able to test these tires with the top guys. So they're able to test different patterns, different compounds with the top guys, and most of these spec tires or the materials, it wouldn't help. And David and I have even ran on some before, and you can't tell any difference. And also, they don't last as long.
And what's great about it, what I've seen a year ago, is actually on my bike now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice that
what
how
they were
much.
testing turned into production, and now I'm getting the benefit of what a pro tested on.
Yeah, it's nice how much they develop tires and come out with new
Yes.
tires
Yeah.
on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it goes even to our latest tire, the 82 is very much influenced by racing, and the 82 tires, pretty much we could go race with it on a motocross track if we wanted to, even though it's designated as a motocross tire. It's a much improved off-road tire, but plenty raceable on the
I haven't
motocross.
used it, but I heard lots of good reviews. I think it's on my shopping list.
And Plessinger had run one the front a little bit, and
Really?
so has Eli's run the
Wow.
actual
Okay.
front. So there's been some of the top guys who have actually
Yeah.
tested with it and are running it, the production one. So it's
Yeah.
really cool. And I think so that's why they do develop spec tires and race tires, is because that's what's going to become next. And they found that just without this level of testing, that's who's going to test it the hardest and the best. So is the top pros.
Exactly. So we're at like an hour and 3 minutes.
Oh my gosh, our longest show ever.
It's not our longest show. It's coming close though.
I think it will be the longest.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
After Jay does some CDs.
CD. Here's our CD.
He brought half his collection. huh?
Nope.
Yeah, it's a
You
lot.
better have something Irish in here.
No
You got some
Irish.
U2.
No Irish.
Yeah, I could have brought the one U2 album I have.
Ah,
but I didn't.
man.
All right, sorry.
Yeah.
All right, so
You don't like foreigners, right?
who do I got here?
Judas Priest.
No,
No.
it's all one guy.
All one guy.
It's
Okay.
a member of KISS.
Oh. There you go.
Come on.
You got this.
You go.
Oh, it's Ace.
Ace Frehley.
All right, so Ace has a brand new album, Ace Frehley, Kiss. Now, and it's really good. Now he does sing. He's more of a guitarist than a singer. But this new album, 10,000 Volts, is really good, and you can listen to it on Spotify and all that. It's really good, and these are all Ace albums right here. He has a couple more I don't have, but those are all Ace. Now back in the day, you remember this when they had their solo albums come out? When
I
they were,
remember the albums, and they each had their face on
and
it.
at the time they were kind of like.
And then the next one was all their faces together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were all like superheroes in a way, and so you picked your favorite one, and Ace was my favorite one.
Ace is your
So
favorite.
is this playing in the shop, not country now?
Yeah, not too much country.
Oh,
We
good.
play some
Yeah.
country like.
Okay.
You don't like country?
No.
Not a country fan.
No, not a country fan. Yeah, it's
likes
usually
that.
like a hillbilly complaining about his truck broken and his
You
dog
know what happens
died.
when
and-
they play it backwards?
it's
right?
happy then.
No, they get their wife back, they get their truck back, they get their dog back. Yeah.
So check out this new album from Ace. And also on a side note, from the last show, we had a couple comments. Okay, first thing is we had some comments. One of the comments was that they had recorded that Back in Black album with Bon Scott. Donnie and I talked about this. First of all, Kurt Leverton, the owner of Ventco, good company. He's a huge AC/DC fan. Seen him a bunch of times. He's watched interviews with Angus. He said that it is not true, that they did not record that. They had a lot of it written, but none of it was recorded. And because Donnie and I, our theory on it is I have to agree with it, because if it was, they would have released it because he was the known singer. They would have released it and just toured later with Brian Johnson.
Yeah.
They would have recorded. So that's our theory. And if it did exist in the last 40 years, they would have put it out.
would
They would
already
have
put
done
it
a
out.
Diamond album. They would have done the
Oh, do you
box
know the
set.
money it would have made on it? It would
You
have
could have you could have sold it for like $200.
It would have gone
Yeah.
past the Eagles.
It would-
Trust me.
It would
It would have been
broken the
huge.
world, yeah.
So I don't think it exists. So I think it's just lore, AC/DC lore. The next thing, I'll go as far as music goes. On a little side note,
Go.
there's a brand new album, just came out last.
Oh yeah. Last night.
Okay, we got this preview of these are.
Are we previewing this?
No,
I
this
don't
is-
think I want to preview
No,
this.
but I'm going to save some people. I did this hard work for you. This is T Swift. Okay.
Okay.
So you don't need to waste your time. Okay.
All
I'm just
right.
going to say, if you don't want to go to a tall building and lunge off, or find some rope, or
Was T Swift Taylor Swift?
Yes.
You guys lost me on all this.
I heard I saw something funny the other day. Somebody called her Trailer Park Swift.
Taylor Parks.
so
You can call it T Swizzle.
T-Swizzle.
So anyway, this new stuff. Now the old stuff, I actually did when she was country.
You know that
We had- it was
who
fine.
What country singer just passed away?
Toby Keith.
Toby Keith.
Oh, yeah.
He is the one that discovered her and actually got her and signed her to her first deal.
Wow. Okay. Well, the first stuff was really good. Teardrops on my guitar.
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
just-
stuff like that.
Like, okay, it was all catchy little country stuff. It was fine. It was happy.
It was happy.
This stuff, not happy. Okay, you're gonna want like you know, like kind of like Nirvana, right? Like you know, you're not gonna be happier after you listen to it.
Who was the singer that you earlier today?
Oh, Tori Amos.
Tori Amos.
It sounds like Tori Amos.
I
You
said-
put
'cause
on.
he was listening. And we didn't listen to this in its entirety. We listened to about 20 seconds of each song. There's 31 songs.
I don't know what to think of you guys for actually listening.
Well,
to
we
it.
had.
You gotta try it at least once.
My wife was
I don't
with us.
listen. I can look at something and tell I don't want to try it.
So I'm saving everybody a bunch of time. You don't need to go check it out.
Yeah.
All right.
Unless you're a huge fan, then you're going to be loyal.
So we don't get any more tech questions because we spent too long talking about your enormous.
I'm
No, but
sorry. So
I'm going to ask you
but
guys.
Spencer,
both-
don't you have a question?
I can.
So if you
do it after-
email Jay and Jay doesn't know, I usually get him along
So
to help out with a lot of the questions.
So
I'll
between
help.
David and Brad, they help me on a lot of my tech questions. Obviously, he's a little KTM more savvy.
Yeah, I don't get the Honda
Yeah.
questions, which is good.
it's more of a question for David. It comes from a young lad named Rowan McLaughlin, who comes from Port Law, Ireland, and he's got a question. He wants to come over here and he wants to be a dirt bike mechanic, and he wants to go to all the races, and he really wants to work
I
hard.
know him.
You know him?
No. But it's real close to where I grew up.
Yeah, he really wants to know what you would do if you had to do it all over. How would you get over here and really work hard and be able to get where you are now? If you had to do it over and try
Yeah.
again, is there anything you'd change?
Biggest thing is just don't be a cool guy. There's a lot of cool guys in this industry. Got the shades on and like standing under the tent, but they're not actually working.
You call them bros, huh?
Bros, yeah.
Bro down.
So I think just I came here with hard working, like, you know, when it came to pulling down the tent at the end of the day when it's hot and loading up the semi, you can't be like the rock star guy. You just gotta always like work hard, and then, like I said earlier, just soak up all the knowledge from people who've done it a long time and just learn from them and improve on it.
do more,
yeah.
not less.
Yes.
Hey, listen, we didn't talk about all your injuries. So we got the tib fib, and then after that,
Oh,
your
you help pull my elbow back in a Mammoth.
Yeah, so that was that was 7 years ago or something.
So I'm racing up in Mammoth.
We were up there on vacation.
Yes, you were on vacation. I was racing.
Coming
I
down
think
the
it was
first hill.
the first hill of the main, made it into the 30 class C main. Coming down the hill, somebody crossed my front wheel. Lock bars went down, so I went tumbling, put my arm out, and a bike hit right here, popped the elbow out.
I think we got a cool photo of the X-ray.
And yeah, we do. Yeah. So Mammoth is like everybody just sandwiched in the pit. So my van, everything stayed there. They ambulanced me out. I actually didn't know it was dislocated. It was so painful. I thought maybe it was broken. So it went like double the size. So I don't know who contacted you, and you showed up and like, Jay, what are you doing here?
I got you over to the hospital, right?
No, so Megan Carter, Mickey's wife, brought me over to the hospital. And I don't know who contacted you. I'm sitting there like with the painkillers.
John Maldonado was racing
Yeah.
that week.
So we got
Maldonado, John.
I think
Okay,
John knew.
yeah.
Yes.
So we got him over there and spent the night at our place because he wasn't fit to be doing much. But you got to where you could drive.
They
home.
tried to pop my elbow out in like 2-3 times. Jay was watching and they were pulling on it. I was kind of like loopy on.
They're bringing in more and more people to put. It was tough to watch. So So that was one of your last big ones, and you had knee surgery.
I gave up crashing after that.
Okay.
Yeah, no more crashing after that.
I need to learn.
I gave that up. Yeah, that's for kids. Yeah, so I had what was broken fib. I did a tibia plateau, which kind of destroyed my knee. So right now I've got a pretty worn out knee because I had to get it rebuilt from some of the bone from my hip. So the knee bugs me. I haven't really been riding as much as I usually do. Kind of after a long week of work, if it's hurting, I'm like, all right, I better skip and let the swelling go down. So I kind of missed a lot of good riding the last few months, but kind of got into mountain biking recently, which is kind of helping my knee. So I'm getting the bug for dirt biking again.
Are you on a real one or a cheater?
The cheater one.
Yeah, I got a cheater.
Yeah. But it's still my legs are doing that motion.
Hey, let's go because I got a cheater and I want to go ride with somebody.
Yeah. So what we do, we have a little group that goes at lunch break. We do 11.5 miles in like under an hour on our lunch break.
Do you do that little ravine and everything down behind the airport over there?
What's it called? No, we don't go that side. We cross over the airport and go Hogsback, it's called.
Okay, oh yeah.
So fun. We need to do that soon, Donnie. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, a lot of injuries, so I gave up crashing.
Yeah. All right, I'm joining you.
Yeah, we all should. Yeah.
Well, in the story, we just touched base on that. So when I first started riding with David, I was substantially faster. Okay, I was substantially faster, and especially at like Quia, the jump track. What? Yeah, like but then I
Spencer.
I don't remember.
Oh, you don't remember, but I was faster, and then especially like at Quia, he's crazy. But then you started riding Glen Helen with Jody and the crew, and riding every weekend, and I would show up at Glen Helen, and I'm like,
I race better than I practice. I'll send it a little more at a race.
But he was smoking me at Glen Helen after I had.
But when we go to the Hills track, we're like, whenever a race, I definitely. The first 2 laps, I'll send it to get away.
But there was
from the rest.
2 or 3 years where you rode Glen Helen a lot, and I wasn't riding there much.
Yeah.
And that's when I showed up, and I was like, I couldn't even believe it. I was just getting smoked. So it was very depressing. And now I don't even ride those jumpy tracks like at Quia.
No, that's the one downside about California. All the tracks are very supercross jumpy. Maybe I'm just getting old and nervous.
They're shifting. They're changing in the past 5 years to be more
I like
that
the
way.
more natural coming from Ireland, up and down hills, rough. That's my type.
Mine
of track.
was the other. I'm the better on the
jumpy
you used to go to Paris, Gunny, and I watch you hucking all the big jumps. I'm oh no way.
So anyway, it was.
But I'm slow everywhere else.
Yeah. Hey, once we're all having fun on dirt bikes, and that's what it's all about, guys. You keep riding dirt bikes and putting a smile on your face, fast, slow. It's all fun.
Yeah.
No, and that's good that you're still riding. I've talked about this before.
Oh, grumpy industry guys.
Yes,
I'm not a grumpy industry. I love riding. So there's a lot of people like who
industry guys
who love dirt bikes, got into the industry, and then they're around it like 5-6 days a week. The last thing they want to do is go to a track or wash their own bike.
I think I've said it here a couple of times, but my favorite saying is, you don't see a mailman walking on his day off.
Yes, yeah. Well, I'm an idiot. Yeah.
He's leaving here and he's going to go prep his bike for tomorrow's race.
Tomorrow's the 2-stroke national. I borrowed an off-road Husky 300, which I've never even ridden one, but little fun tomorrow. Line up and see how it goes. Yeah.
So anyway, it's pretty awesome. You got a quick one, Donnie?
I got a question for both of you guys. Quick.
Okay.
You guys have been working on bikes for years. What is the newest technology that you've seen come along that has helped you the most in working on bikes?
Well, for me, I would just say it's not working on bikes, but fuel injection is just awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
And when I get questions on carburetors and stuff, and I get lots of jetting problems
well, that's even working on bikes. It's like
fuel injection is just awesome, and I can just go, and then I can just go over to Jamie at Twisted and pick up a new ECU, or he can just or he can dyno a bike. Yeah. It's just life changing.
Fuel injection definitely made it a lot easier.
And so the shift to 4-stroke anyway. If we'd stayed on 2 strokes and done carburetor, we'd be fine. Okay, that's not a big deal. But with 4-stroke carbureted bikes was really tough. So from every aspect of it.
The one downside on the fuel injection, this is the most questions I get emailed from Jay, is problems.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's kind of inflicted by the people themselves, water in the plugs. Most of them are self-inflicted. I have my bike, I wash it, you blow it off afterwards, everything's okay. Sometimes maybe a sensor can go out, but a lot of times water is electrical's enemy. So just washing your bike, make sure it's done right.
I had the advantage, I was a contributor at Dirt Rider forever, and I rode the first fuel injection bike that was here.
That's cool.
What?
The Cannondale.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Well, and we've even gotten to where, because we have a bike wash video, we've gotten to where we're starting to, even if we don't block off the air filter, when we bring the bike in, we pull the seat off and blow off even more, because
you have a lot of water sits, the ECU is there, the relays.
When Jade was here, he talked about how to take care of that stuff, like how the race teams do.
It's very important.
It's very important. Yeah.
Even like your TPS sensors, so that's monitoring how much your throttle's open. If there's water in there and you're half throttle and it's only taking quarter, it's not injecting enough fuel. So like there's problems can happen from water.
That's all I got.
That's an awesome show. This is awesome.
Yeah, it was a good
having
show.
me over.
Thanks, Lucky
Hope
Charm.
you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah. All right. So hope you guys liked it. Like, comment, subscribe. Remember to email us questions on the show if you have any questions you want to do, or just questions. I don't wait till the show to answer you. I just write you back. And remember to support our good companies that are all listed after this, and use our links from Rocky Mountain if you're gonna be shopping and all
I
that.
brought some of my favorite Motion Pro tools.
Oh, crud. We didn't even get to that. Are they in your car?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's okay.
We had enough. I was told David. I forgot about that.
I don't have it in my hand.
Okay, what's your favorite one?
One of my favorite tools, which I use all day, every day, a valve stem seal installer.
Yeah.
It comes like a kit of 4. You have all the different diameters for 450s, 250s, and it just makes my life so easy. It's just push in the valve stem seal.
Yep.
I replace them on every service I do, so it's such a nice tool.
Yeah. And that's a cool tool. So I think I helped you get one of those.
You got it for me. Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
So anyway,
my whole department would like some because they're pretty jealous of us.
do they ever come borrow
Maybe
yours?
we could get a Motion Pro sponsorship.
Dave can't find his. He's like,
So Motion Pro has awesome tools like that. We'll have a picture of that tool for those guys that are wondering if they're doing valve stems. Most guys aren't doing valve stems that often.
No, not at all. But for me, it's a everyday deal, and it's so nice.
I have this buddy of mine from high school back in Missouri. He did his own head on his CRF 250. The thing ran great, tons of hours, right?
Yeah.
We took it apart out here, so it comes out here. We take it apart.
Does it have no valve stem seals?
No valve stem seals. 0. It ran great for years. At 0.
Nice.
So somehow when they had it apart, so it ran good.
Okay, he doesn't need that tool.
It was a Honda, right?
It was a Honda 250 up. It was the bike has over 300 hours. I think at that time it had a couple hundred, and I think the head had been off like 100. So he had 80 to 100 hours or something with no valve stem seals. We figured out.
Wow.
Like somebody just took them out and was maybe going to change them and then just didn't.
Forgot about them.
Yeah,
I did it.
Pretty cool. So,
wow.
All right. Hey, thanks, guys.
show.
We'll see you next. Thank you, guys. Thanks to David. See ya.
see ya.
We work with some great companies, and here's a list of those right now. Dunlop Motorcycle Tires, Wiseco Piston, Vinco Air Shocks and Dirt Bike Parts, FMF Exhaust, Decal Works Graphics, Pro X Racing Parts, Recluse Clutch Revolution, Motion Pro Specialty Motorcycle Tools, Works Connection, Uni Filter, Klotz Oil, Cometic Gasket, MX Plastics, JE Pistons, Cardo Systems, ODI Bars and Grips. And remember, if you shop Rocky Mountain, use our link from our site, Linktree, or link in description of the videos. Thanks for watching and listening. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.